Last month, I watched my own son get escorted off my property by the police. He was screaming at me from the driveway, calling me names I won't repeat here. His wife, my daughter-in-law, was crying those fake tears she's so good at. And my son, Kevin, the boy I raised, the boy I sacrificed everything for, he looked at me like I was his enemy. Maybe I am now. But after what they tried to do to me, after the lies, the schemes, the forged documents, they deserved every bit of what happened to them. My name is Harold Mitchell. I'm 74 years old, and this is the story of how my own family tried to steal everything I built, and how I made sure they got exactly what they deserved. But before I tell you how it ended, you need to understand how it began. I was born in 1950 in a small town outside of Toledo, Ohio. My father was a factory worker. My mother cleaned houses. We didn't have much, but we had each other. And my parents taught me something that stuck with me my whole life. If you want something, you work for it. Nobody owes you anything. I got my first job at 14, sweeping floors at a hardware store. By 18, I was an apprentice electrician. By 22, I had my license. And that same year, I married the love of my life. Her name was Margaret. Maggie, I called her. She was 20 years old when we got married, with brown hair and a smile that could light up any room. We got married at the county courthouse on a Tuesday afternoon in June. I was wearing my only suit. She was wearing a white dress her mother made. We had $11 between us. 52 years later, when she passed away, I was holding her hand. But I'm getting ahead of myself. After we got married, I worked every job I could find. Nights, weekends, holidays, it didn't matter. Maggie worked too, as a secretary at a law office downtown. We saved every penny, and in 1982, I finally had enough to start my own business. Mitchell Electric. I still remember signing the papers. My hands were shaking. Maggie was standing right beside me, her hand on my shoulder. "We're going to make it, Harry," she said. "I believe in you." And you know what? We did. For 35 years, I built that company from nothing. Started with just me and a used van. By the time I sold it in 2016, I had 12 employees and contracts all over the county. I wasn't rich by any means, but I was comfortable. I had a paid-off house, a good pension, and enough savings to live out my days without worrying about money. The house, that was Maggie's dream. We bought it in 1988, a 3-bedroom colonial on a quiet street in Westfield. Nothing fancy, but it had a big backyard where the kids could play and a kitchen with enough room for Sunday dinners. Maggie planted roses along the back fence the first spring we lived there. She tended those roses for almost 30 years. Now, here's where I need to tell you about my children. Kevin was born in 1976, our firstborn. I remember the day he came into this world like it was yesterday. I held him in my arms and I made a promise. I would give him everything I never had: a stable home, opportunities, a future. Linda came along 3 years later, in 1979. She was the easy one, always smiling, always helpful. Even as a little girl, she had a heart for taking care of people. Now she's a nurse in Columbus, married to a good man named Miguel. They have 2 kids. She calls me every Sunday without fail. Kevin was different. Don't get me wrong, I loved him. I still love him, somewhere, deep down, where it hurts too much to look. But Kevin always wanted things to come easy. He struggled in school, not because he wasn't smart, but because he didn't want to put in the work. He bounced from job to job in his 20s, and then he met Denise. Denise came into our lives in 1998. She was charming at first, attentive. She laughed at all my jokes and called Maggie Mom before they were even engaged. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. The way she always steered conversations toward money.
the way she looked around our house like she was appraising it. But when it's your son's girlfriend, you want to believe the best. So I did. They got married in 2002. Big wedding. Maggie and I paid for most of it. And that was just the beginning. Now, I need you to understand something. I'm not a stingy man. I worked hard my whole life so I could take care of my family. And when my kids needed help, I helped them. When Kevin and Denise bought their first house in 2015, they came to me. They needed help with the down payment. "Just a loan, Dad," Kevin said. "We'll pay you back." I wrote them a check for $45,000. They never paid back a dime. A year later, their daughter Brittany needed braces, $8,000. Kevin said their insurance wouldn't cover it, so I covered it. Then their car broke down, $3,500 for repairs. Kevin said he was between jobs, so I paid for that too. Every single time I helped. And every single time, Denise would smile that smile of hers and say, "Thanks, Harry, you're a lifesaver." Not, "Thank you, Dad." Not, "We really appreciate it." Just, "Thanks." Maggie noticed. She didn't say much, that wasn't her way, but I could see it bothered her. One night, a few months before she got sick, she said something I never forgot. "Harry, I worry about what happens when I'm gone. Promise me you'll be careful with Kevin. He's got a good heart somewhere in there. But Denise, that woman only sees dollar signs." I promised her I'd be careful. I wish I'd listened sooner. Maggie passed away in 2018, pancreatic cancer. By the time they found it, it was too late. She was gone within 3 months.
Losing her was the hardest thing I've ever been through. 52 years of marriage, and suddenly I was alone in a house full of memories. Every room had her in it. The kitchen, where she made her famous pot roast. The living room, where we watched our shows every night. The backyard with her roses. For a while, I didn't know how to keep going. Linda was wonderful. She drove up every weekend, even though it was 2 hours each way. She'd cook for me, make sure I was eating. She'd sit with me in the living room and let me talk about her mother for hours. She never rushed me, never made me feel like a burden. Kevin came to the funeral. Denise wore a black dress that probably cost more than my first car. They stayed for 2 days, then went back to their lives. Kevin called maybe once a month after that, then once every few months, then hardly at all. I told myself he was grieving in his own way. That's what you do when it's your own child. You make excuses, you hope. But here's the thing, and this is important. About 2 years ago, Kevin started visiting more often. At first, I was happy. I thought maybe he was finally coming around. Maybe losing his mother had made him realize what was important. Maybe he wanted to rebuild our relationship. But looking back, there was always a reason for those visits. Always a question about my finances, about my health, about my plans for the house. "Dad, have you thought about what's going to happen to this place when you're gone?" "Dad, you know you can't maintain a house this size forever. Have you considered downsizing?" "Dad, Denise and I were talking. Maybe you should think about assisted living. You know, before you need it, while you can still make decisions for yourself." At the time, I brushed it off. I was 72, not 92. My mind was sharp. My health was fine. I told them I had no plans to go anywhere. I didn't see it then. I didn't want to see it. But I should have. Now, there's a drawer in my desk. The bottom one, on the left side. That's where I keep my important papers. Maggie's death certificate, the deed to our house, our marriage license from 1968, old photos of the kids when they were little, and something else. Something I found about 8 months ago that changed everything. But I'll get to that. Because before I tell you what I found in that drawer, you need to understand what happened to Thanksgiving. You need to see what they did to my face, how they smiled while they were planning to destroy my life. That's when I finally opened my eyes. And that's when I stopped being their victim. Thanksgiving, 2023. I remember it like it was yesterday. Thursday, November 23rd. I was in the kitchen at 6 in the morning, getting the turkey ready. Maggie always handled Thanksgiving, but I'd learned to do it myself. Wasn't as good as hers, but I tried.
Linda and Miguel were coming up from Columbus with the grandkids. Kevin and Denise were driving in from their place, about 40 minutes away. For the first time in years, I was actually looking forward to having everyone under one roof. The day started fine. Linda arrived around noon with the kids, my grandkids, Emma and Jake, 13 and 11 years old. They ran in and hugged me, and for a moment, I felt like everything was right in the world. Kevin and Denise showed up around 2. Denise was carrying a store-bought pie. She'd never cooked a thing in her life. And Kevin had that look on his face, that look I'd started noticing more and more, like he was nervous about something, like he couldn't quite meet my eyes. But here's the thing, I wanted to believe everything was okay, so I ignored it. We sat down for dinner. The turkey turned out decent. The grandkids were laughing. Even Kevin seemed to relax a little. And then, right in the middle of dessert, Denise said something that made my blood freeze. "Harry, we've been meaning to talk to you about something." The table went quiet. "Kevin and I have been worried about you," she continued, with that sweet voice she uses when she wants something. "Living alone in this big house, it's a lot for someone your age. We were thinking maybe it's time to start looking at some options." "Options?" I said. "You know, retirement communities, assisted living facilities." She smiled like she was doing me a favor. "Some of them are really nice these days. They have activities, social events. You wouldn't be so lonely." I looked at Kevin. He was staring at his plate. "I'm not lonely, and I'm not going anywhere," I said. Denise laughed, that fake laugh of hers. "Harry, I know it's hard to admit when you need help, but we've noticed some things. You've been forgetful lately, confused. Last month, you forgot Kevin's birthday." I hadn't forgotten Kevin's birthday. I'd sent him a card and a check for $200. He'd never called to say thank you, but I remembered. "I didn't forget his birthday," I said. "See?" Denise looked around the table with this concerned expression. "This is what I'm talking about. Harry, you called me last week and asked me the same question 3 times in one conversation." That was a lie. I knew it was a lie. But the way she said it, so confident, so certain, for just a moment, I wondered if maybe I had. Linda stood up. "That's enough, Denise." "Linda, I'm just trying to help." "No, you're not." My daughter's voice was sharp. "You're trying to manipulate him, and I won't sit here and watch it." The rest of the evening was tense. Linda and Miguel left early, and I could see she was furious. Kevin and Denise stayed another hour, pretending everything was fine. But I saw them whispering in the kitchen when they thought I wasn't looking. And that's when I heard it.
I was in the hallway, just around the corner. They didn't know I was there. And Denise's voice carried more than she realized. "The sooner we get the paperwork started, the better. He's only getting worse." "Are you sure about this?" That was Kevin, my son. "Don't go soft on me now. We've been planning this for 2 years. 2 years, Kevin. If we don't move soon, Linda's going to figure out what's going on, and then we'll have a real fight on our hands." 2 years. They'd been planning this for 2 years. I stood there in that hallway, frozen. My heart was pounding so hard I thought they might hear it, but they didn't. They just kept talking. "What about the house?" Kevin asked. "Once we get conservatorship, we can sell it, pay off our debts, maybe finally take that trip to Europe you've been wanting." "But Dad loves this house." "Harry's 74 years old. He doesn't need a 4-bedroom house. He needs to be somewhere with round-the-clock care. Trust me, we're doing him a favor." I went back to the living room. I sat in my chair. Maggie's chair was still next to mine, even though she'd been gone for 5 years. And I didn't say a word when they left. That night, I didn't sleep at all. Now, most people would have confronted them right then, would have screamed and yelled and thrown them out of my house. But I didn't, because something Maggie used to say kept running through my mind. "Never make a decision when you're angry, Harry. Anger makes you stupid." So I waited, I watched, and over the next few weeks, I started noticing things I'd missed before. Denise started helping with my mail. She'd come by twice a week, more than she'd visited in years, and offer to sort through my bills for me, just to make things easier for you, Harry. Therefore, bills started going missing. The electric company sent a late notice, then the water bill. I knew I'd paid them, I had the checkbook to prove it, but somehow the payments weren't going through. I mentioned it to Kevin. He looked at me with this sad expression. "Dad, are you sure you paid them? Maybe you just thought you did." But I had the receipts, I had the canceled checks, and when I showed them to Kevin, he just shrugged and said, "Well, the bank must have made a mistake." They were trying to make me look incompetent, setting the stage. Therefore, I started keeping records. Every interaction, every conversation, every bill I paid, I made copies. I bought a little notebook from the drugstore and wrote down everything. Dates, times, what was said. I kept it hidden in the bottom of my sock drawer. Then came the doctor's appointment. It was January 15th, 2024. Kevin called and said he'd made an appointment for me to see a specialist. He said it was just a routine checkup, nothing to worry about. "What kind of specialist?" I asked. "Just someone who works with seniors to make sure everything's okay." I should have said no, but I wanted to see how far they would go. Kevin picked me up that morning. We drove to an office building I'd never seen before, in a part of town I didn't recognize. The sign on the door didn't say anything about medicine. It said Elder Care Solutions. We went inside. The woman at the front desk smiled at me like I was a child. "Hello, Mr. Mitchell. We're so glad you could come in today. Kevin's told us all about you." I looked at my son. He wouldn't meet my eyes. A man in a suit came out and introduced himself. Not a doctor, a lawyer, an elder law attorney, he said. He started asking me questions about my finances, my property, my wishes for the future. I played along, answered his questions, let him think I was confused. But the whole time, I was memorizing everything. Every question he asked, every form he slid across the table. When we left, Kevin patted me on the shoulder. "See, Dad, that wasn't so bad." "No," I said, "it wasn't bad at all." But that wasn't even the worst part. 3 weeks later, Kevin left something in my house. He and Denise had come over for dinner. They were doing that more often now, keeping an eye on me, I suppose. After they left, I went to the kitchen to clean up, and I noticed Kevin's jacket was still hanging on the back of a chair. There was something in the pocket. I should have just set it aside, should have called him and said he'd forgotten it. But something told me to look. Call it instinct, call it desperation, call it Maggie whispering in my ear. I reached into the pocket and pulled out a folder. Inside were documents, power of attorney forms, a petition for conservatorship, notes about memory issues and cognitive decline, things I did not have. There were copies of my bank statements, my mortgage documents, the deed to my house,
things they shouldn't have had. And there was a printout of text messages between Kevin and Denise. The first one was from Denise. Once we control his accounts, we can finally pay off the credit cards. Kevin's response, "How much do you think the house is worth?" Denise, "At least $350K. More if we fix it up first. Either way, we're set." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the papers. But that wasn't the worst part. At the bottom of the folder, there was a photograph, an old photograph. Me and Maggie on our wedding day, standing outside the courthouse, young and hopeful and so in love. Someone had written on the back. I recognized Denise's handwriting. "Once we sell this dump, we can finally take that Europe trip. About time the old man was useful for something." This dump. My home. Maggie's home. The house where we raised our children, where we built our life together. The house where I held her hand as she took her last breath. A dump. Something inside me went cold. That Sunday, I drove to the cemetery. It was February, gray sky, frozen ground. I stood in front of Maggie's headstone for I don't know how long. Just stood there, looking at her name carved in granite.
"They want to take our home, Maggie," I said. My voice cracked. "Our son. He wants to lock me away and sell everything we built, everything you loved." The wind was the only answer I got. I felt like I was drowning. 74 years old, and my own child had turned on me. The boy I'd sacrificed everything for. The boy I'd given my heart to. For a moment, just a moment, I thought about giving up. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was just a foolish old man who didn't know what was best anymore. But then I remembered something else Maggie used to say. "You didn't build a business by being a fool, Harry, and you didn't marry one either." I wiped my eyes. I looked at her headstone one more time. "I'm not going to let them win, Maggie. I promise you that." The next morning, I called Linda. It was the first honest conversation we'd had in months. I told her everything. The Thanksgiving comments, the forged documents, the text messages, the photograph. She was quiet for a long time. "Dad," she finally said, "I've suspected Denise for years, but I never thought Kevin would." She couldn't finish the sentence. "Neither did I, sweetheart." "What are we going to do?" I took a deep breath. "We're not going to confront them. We're not going to give them any warning." Then what? We're going to win. The next day, I made a phone call. Gerald Hoffman. We'd known each other for 20 years through the Rotary Club. He was an estate attorney, one of the best in the county. I'd helped wire his office back in 2005, and he'd helped me set up my will after Maggie passed. "Harry," he said when I walked into his office, "good to see you. What can I do for you?" I set the folder on his desk. "I need your help, Gerald. My son and his wife are trying to have me declared incompetent so they can take my house and my savings." Gerald opened the folder. He read through the document slowly. His expression didn't change much, but I saw his jaw tighten when he got to the text messages. And when he saw the photograph with Denise's note on the back, he set it down and looked at me. "Harry, I see cases like this more than you'd think. Adult children who see their parents as ATMs, who can't wait for them to die, so they start the process early." He shook his head. "But most of them aren't as smart as you. Most of them don't have documentation like this. What can we do?" Gerald leaned back in his chair. "First, we get you a cognitive evaluation from your real doctor. That'll establish that you're mentally sound. Then, we revise your will and set up a trust, one that Kevin can't touch. We document everything they've done. And then," he smiled, "we let them walk right into the trap."
What kind of trap?
They're going to schedule a meeting, Harry, a family meeting to discuss your care. They'll bring their lawyer. They'll think they've already won. But when they show up at your house expecting to take control, he paused, they're going to find out they've been building the case against themselves this whole time. I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. One more thing, I said. I want to set up cameras in my own house so I have video of everything they do. Ohio's a one-party consent state. As long as you consent, it's legal. Gerald nodded. Smart man. I called Linda that night and told her the plan. She cried, not sad tears, relieved ones. I'll be there, Dad. Whatever you need, I'm with you. For the first time since Thanksgiving, I slept through the night. Over the next 6 weeks, everything fell into place. Dr. Patricia Simmons gave me a full cognitive evaluation. The results? Perfect, sharp as I'd ever been. She wrote a letter stating that I was fully competent to manage my own affairs. Gerald rewrote my will. Kevin was removed entirely. The house, the savings, everything, it all went to Linda. We set up an irrevocable trust to protect the assets. Even if Kevin tried to sue, there was nothing he could touch. I installed cameras in 3 rooms of my house: the living room, the kitchen, my office. Small, discreet. Denise never noticed. And I waited. They thought I was just a confused old man. They had no idea that every visit, every phone call, every document they forged, I was watching, I was recording, I was building a case. The clock was ticking, and they couldn't hear it. 3 weeks after I installed the cameras, Denise called. Harry, Kevin and I want to come by on Saturday. We think it's time we all sat down and talk about your future. We found some wonderful facilities that would be perfect for you. I smiled into the phone. That sounds fine, Denise. Saturday it is. I hung up and looked at Maggie's photograph on the mantel. Almost time, sweetheart. Almost time. Saturday, March 15th, 2024. I woke up at 5 in the morning, couldn't sleep, not from nerves, from anticipation. I made myself a cup of coffee and sat at the kitchen table, watching the sun come up through the window. The same window Maggie used to look through while she did the dishes. The same view she loved for 30 years. Today was the day. I'd spent 6 weeks preparing for this moment. Every document was in order. Every piece of evidence was cataloged. Gerald had reviewed everything twice. Linda was driving up from Columbus. Dr. Simmons' letter was sitting in a folder on my desk, right next to the copies of every forged document Kevin and Denise had created. They thought they were coming to take control of my life. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Kevin and Denise arrived at 2 o'clock sharp. I watched them pull into the driveway from the living room window. Denise was driving. She was wearing a nice dress, dressed up for the occasion, I suppose. Kevin was in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead. He still couldn't look at the house without that guilty expression on his face. They weren't alone. A third car pulled up behind them. A man in a gray suit stepped out, carrying a briefcase. Their elder law attorney, the same one from that fake specialist appointment back in January. I smiled. They'd brought reinforcements. Good. That would make this even better. The doorbell rang. I took a deep breath, smoothed down my shirt, and opened the door. Harry, Denise's voice was bright and cheerful, fake as ever. So good to see you. This is Mr. Patterson, the attorney we told you about. He's here to help us discuss your options. Come in, I said. Please, make yourselves comfortable. They walked into the living room like they owned the place. Denise was already looking around, probably calculating what each piece of furniture was worth. Kevin sat down on the couch without saying a word. Mr. Patterson took a seat in the armchair by the window, setting his briefcase on the floor beside him. I offered them coffee. They declined.
"Harry," Denise began, crossing her legs and folding her hands in her lap, "we've been very worried about you. Living alone at your age, it's not safe. We've found some wonderful facilities that specialize in memory care. Beautiful places, really. You'd have your own room, 3 meals a day, people to look after you." "Memory care," I repeated. "Well, yes." She tilted her head, that concerned expression plastered on her face. "We've noticed some issues, Harry. Forgetting things, getting confused. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens to a lot of people your age." Mr. Patterson opened his briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. "Mr. Mitchell," he said, "your son and daughter-in-law have asked me to help facilitate this transition. We've prepared some paperwork that would allow Kevin to assist with your financial affairs. Just temporarily, of course, until we can assess your needs more thoroughly." He slid the papers across the coffee table toward me. Power of attorney forms, conservatorship petition, the same documents I'd found in Kevin's jacket 2 months ago. I didn't touch them. "Before we continue," I said, "I'd like to bring in a few people of my own. I hope you don't mind." Denise's smile flickered. "What do you mean?" I didn't answer. I just walked to the front door and opened it. Gerald Hoffman walked in first. He was carrying his own briefcase, and he was smiling. Then Linda stepped through the door, my daughter. She looked at Kevin, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Pure, cold fury. Kevin went pale. What is this?" Denise stood up. "Harry, what's going on?" "Sit down, Denise." My voice was calm, steady. "We need to talk."
Gerald took a seat across from Mr. Patterson. Linda stood beside me, her hand on my shoulder. The room was silent. "Mr. Patterson," Gerald began, "my name is Gerald Hoffman. I'm Mr. Mitchell's attorney. I've been his attorney for over 20 years. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "Before we proceed with whatever you had planned today, I think there are a few things you should see." He laid the first document on the coffee table. "This is a letter from Dr. Patricia Simmons, Mr. Mitchell's physician. She performed a comprehensive cognitive evaluation on February 3rd of this year." He looked at Denise. "The results show that Mr. Mitchell has no cognitive impairment whatsoever. His mental faculties are, and I quote, fully intact and appropriate for a man of his age." Denise's face went white. That's not possible," she stammered. "He's been confused. We've all seen it." "Have you?" Gerald pulled out another document. "Because according to these text messages between you and your husband, you've known all along that Mr. Mitchell was mentally sound. You just needed to convince everyone else he wasn't." He laid the printout on the table, the same text messages I'd found in Kevin's jacket. "Once we control his accounts, we can finally pay off the credit cards," Gerald read aloud. "How much do you think the house is worth?" "At least $350K. Kevin's head dropped into his hands. Those are private." Denise was sputtering now. "There's more." Gerald pulled out the forged doctor's notes, the fake appointment logs, the records of bills they'd intercepted. "You've been systematically trying to gaslight an elderly man into believing he was losing his mind. You forged medical documents. You attempted to obtain power of attorney through fraudulent means. In the state of Ohio, that's elder abuse. It's fraud, and it's a felony." Mr. Patterson was already closing his briefcase. I wasn't aware of any of this. Kevin told me his father was—" "I'm sure he did," Gerald cut him off. "I'd recommend you distance yourself from these clients immediately, Mr. Patterson, unless you'd like to be named in the lawsuit." Patterson was out the door before Gerald finished his sentence. The room was quiet. Kevin still hadn't looked up. Denise was gripping the arm of the couch so hard her knuckles were white. I reached into my pocket and pulled out one more thing. The photograph. Me and Maggie on our wedding day. Young, hopeful, standing outside the courthouse with $11 between us and a whole life ahead of us.
I turned it over so they could see the back. "Once we sell this dump," I read, "we can finally take that Europe trip. About time the old man was useful for something." I looked at Denise, right in her eyes.
This dump, that's what you called my home. The home where I raised my children, the home where I held my wife's hand as she died. My voice cracked, but I kept going. You were going to lock me away, sell everything we built, and take a vacation with the money. Like I was just an obstacle. Harry, I didn't mean. Don't. The word came out harder than I intended. Don't you dare try to explain. I turned to Kevin. My son, my firstborn, the boy I'd held in my arms in that hospital room 48 years ago. The boy I'd sacrificed everything for. Kevin, he finally looked up. His eyes were red, tears running down his face. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Denise, she said we needed the money, and I didn't want to, but she kept pushing, and You called me senile. My voice was quiet now. You told people I didn't know what was best for myself. You were going to put me in a home and sell your mother's house. The house she loved, the house where she died. Dad, please. I spent 35 years building a life for this family. I gave you everything. Every time you needed help, I was there. And this is how you repay me? Kevin was sobbing now. I know. I'm sorry. I'll do anything. There's nothing you can do. I reached into Gerald's folder and pulled out one final document. This is my new will. As of February 12, 2024, you've been removed completely. The house, the savings, everything, it all goes to Linda. I set the document on the table in front of him. This house, your mother's house, will never belong to you, not as long as I'm alive, and not after I'm gone. The sound that came out of Kevin, I don't have words for it. Something between a sob and a wail, like a child who'd finally realized what he'd lost. Denise stood up. Her face had changed. No more fake sweetness, no more concerned expressions, just rage. You can't do this, she hissed. We'll sue. We'll take you to court. Ma'am. Gerald's voice was ice cold. Given the evidence of attempted elder abuse, fraud, and forgery, I'd strongly recommend you speak with a criminal defense attorney, not a civil one. He pulled out his phone. The police are already on their way. They arrived 12 minutes later. 2 officers, calm, professional. They'd seen cases like this before. I showed them everything. The documents, the recordings from my cameras, Denise going through my desk, Kevin pocketing my checkbook. Both of them practicing what they'd say to make me sound confused. The officers listened. They took notes. They looked at Kevin and Denise with the kind of quiet disgust you only see when someone's done something truly shameful. Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, we're going to need you to come with us. Kevin looked at me one last time. Dad, I'm still your son. I thought about that for a long moment. My son died the day he decided I was just an obstacle between him and a paycheck. Get off my property. They let him out in handcuffs. Denise, too. I stood on the porch and watched them go. Linda was beside me, her arm around my shoulders. You okay, Dad? I nodded slowly. Yeah, sweetheart, I think I am. That was 6 months ago. Kevin was charged with attempted fraud and elder abuse. He plea bargained down to a misdemeanor, but he's still on probation. Lost his job when word got around. His boss was one of my former employees, funny enough. Turns out loyalty runs deeper than I realized. Denise filed for divorce 2 months after the arrest. Couldn't even wait for the ink to dry on the court documents. She'd only stuck around for the money, and once there was no money to take, she was gone. Last I heard, she moved back in with her parents.
Their house went into foreclosure. Turns out they'd been living way beyond their means, counting on my inheritance to bail them out. Karma, I suppose. Kevin tried to call me once, about 3 months ago. Left a voicemail, said he was sorry, that he'd made a terrible mistake, that he wanted to make things right. I didn't call him back. Maybe that makes me a bad father. Maybe I should have given him another chance. Maggie probably would have. She had a bigger heart than me. But some things can't be undone. Some betrayals are too deep. He made his choice, and now he has to live with it. I've made peace with that. These days, life is quiet, and I like it that way. Linda comes up every weekend with Miguel and the grandkids. Emma's learning to bake. She made me a birthday cake last month that was almost as good as Maggie's. Almost. I still live in my house, my home. I'm not going anywhere. On Sunday mornings, I tend to Maggie's roses in the backyard. They bloomed beautifully this spring. Deep red, just the way she liked them. Sometimes I talk to her while I'm out there. Tell her about my week, about the grandkids, about how things turned out. I like to think she can hear me. I like to think she's proud. If you're watching this and you're dealing with family like mine, I want you to know something. You're not alone. There are people out there who see their parents as ATMs, who can't wait for you to die so they can collect their inheritance, who think you're too old, too confused, too weak to fight back. They're wrong. You worked too hard for too long to let anyone, even your own blood, take what's yours. Document everything. Trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to protect yourself. You're never too old to stand up for yourself. Never. If you've ever been betrayed by family, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Sometimes it helps just knowing you're not alone. And if someone you love is going through something like this, share this video with them. Let them know there's hope. I share stories like this every week here on John's Revenge Stories. Real people standing up for themselves. If you enjoyed this one, hit that subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss the next one.
And if you think Kevin and Denise got exactly what they deserved, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps more people find these stories. Take care of yourselves, friends, and remember, respect is earned, not owed, even by family. I'll see you in the next one.